Hey guys, welcome to Steel's Unleashed to the Max. Today I just saw this one on the table, so I thought I would do it, and I've been really curious about how it's going to go for a while now, and I have probably gone even more extreme than I've gone before. This is a rake P801SF or SB, and this is a 14C28N knife. It's a flipper. And this is in the steel that I sort of suggest is probably one of the better super budget steels that you get in the really cheap knives. This is the same stuff that they use in the Morigado, probably treated a bit differently. So what I've done is I've gone and put a 12 degree per side edge on this knife, and as you will see from, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just put a photo up on the screen of it now. As you see, it is a horrendously long edge now, especially more shocking because you see it removes all that black coating. It is a hollow ground as well, because it is with the Tormek, and when the bevels start to get that long, you do actually start to notice a bit of a scoop of hollowness. So it is a very, very steep edge, and needless to say, it is a very, very keen edge. It is slicing paper exceptionally well. It's a it's not been burnished particularly, so it may have that folding issue that the Open L had. I did probably put a bit more of an angle on it when I was deburring it on the strop, and I did probably do that for a little bit longer than I did with the Open L, so we will see if that affects anything to do with how it performs, but it is just so sharp. It's just my lack of control that's not able to get a complete long curl. But yes, interesting, very interested to see how this one does. It is, yes, as I said, particularly sharp. We're going to cut twisted sisal rope with it until it no longer slices paper. Well, I can't think of anything else I'd normally do, so let's get to it. Just kidding. Unleashed to the max.
Houston, we have a problem.
Alrighty, so I've just done a bit of burr management, so to speak. I've just added what is a tiny little micro convex on there as well. I think it was just going to be way too frail it is just going to fail on me, like at a weird point rather than at the the proper point, which would be after a number of cuts, because I was 15 in or something, and it didn't do the trick. So what I've done is you can see a sort of to the naked eye, you can sort of just see a very, very, very fine white line along the whole edge, which is kind of where it's microed over from both sides. They're using the strop, so that should have added a little bit of durability to it. So hopefully it won't just roll, and it definitely got all the burr off. So now we can have a proper crack at seeing how 14C28 goes when you unleash it to the max. Alrighty, hope that recorded. So yeah, from what I can tell, that was 215 cuts. I did put a slight micro bevel on it, just because that first cut was it just seemed too patchy, touch and go. You know, a bit like a scalpel or something, I guess. You know, the minute you hit something that wasn't soft, perfectly, you know, prone material, it was probably going to roll. So I cleaned the burr off, and then I got a bit of a micro bevel going just by pushing the knife at a sort of higher angle into the, not this high obviously, but rather than going on super low like this, going a little bit higher, running it across a couple of times, just kind of smooths it up just a little bit and makes just a slight little convexy kind of, you know, a bit of structure there to give it a bit more, I don't know. So it still bites in, but it bites in with a slightly duller than just an actual burr wire. So hey, you're probably using really untechnical terms, and people who know more about this are probably shitting themselves that I'm saying the wrong things, but it's just kind of how it seems to me. Anyway, so I pretty much optimized the performance of 14C28N, as in I've almost tripled its cutting longevity by putting it 12 degrees per side and a micro bevel. Definitely not going to be for everyone and for every job. What I will do now, actually, and I have been asked to do this a couple of times, I'm going to go and grab a piece of wood and see if this unspoiled edge, this really, really sharp bit down here, can shave wood. And then see if that just kills it immediately or whatever happens. So that's something that people do ask as well. So let's go and do that. Alright, so this is just a piece of that spotted gumwood that I'm always cutting that's really, really bad on knife edges. So let's just do a bit of a feather cut down here. Bites in crazy deep. Just see, stuffed off on the old pantaloons. Okay, so it still cuts pretty well. Well, it cuts pretty much exactly the same still, which is cool. And this isn't a kind piece of wood that I've chosen, so this is the stuff that it's all wet and gross right now, so maybe that's making it a bit easier to do. But this is the nasty stuff that has killed knives for me in the past in my yard. So I'm even doing a little bit of levering to get the knife out of the feather. See how that's going now. Another bit of. Alrighty, so it seems like that little micro bevel is adding a fair bit of stability to it. It's stable enough to even use on, you know, pretty reasonable wood. I mean, this is, as I said, a bit wet and soggy, but because there's pissing down rain outside. But yeah, it's because the one reason I was hesitant to recommend these edges for anything else was my little Nalaka from Spyderco had a really extreme angle on what was a pretty tough steel, RWO34. That was almost, I think it had a tiny little micro bevel, but the steel behind was just so thin. I guess this still has a little bit more steel behind it for it not to be a complete, you know, roll-prone mess, whereas that my little Nalaka just rolled very, very quickly, and I was quite upset by that. So there you go. Violently shook a bit of material off there. Let's see. Yeah. Well, there you go. Maybe I should stop telling everyone to only use these edges for EDC. Who knows? Really making a dick of myself. But that is what science will do. Even bro science takes no prisoners. You can't hide from the results, can you? So, I mean, it's an ugly edge, but it's a very effective edge, so it seems, against rope and at least soft, soggy wood. 14C28N. Hey, hope you've enjoyed this, guys. I'll catch you all in the next one. I remember, I'm not an expert. I'm just one guy with one knife. I'm just kind of experimenting here. So hope you enjoy watching. Look, if you disagree with me or you think steels can do other things, don't tell me, show me. As I always say, if you can show me, or if you can, as with everything, always, it's anecdotal evidence is great, but always look for the stuff that can actually be at least somewhat demonstrated, because then it's it's bound by fact, not opinion, at the very least, or at least a fact that is only moderately biased or moderately bent to opinion. So anyway, thanks guys. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.